Welcome back, everybody, to This Meeting Should Have Been a Podcast. I'm your co-host, Tom Schin, along with my partner in crime, Tom Horne. And we had a busy couple of weeks, I would say. Tom, what'd you say?
Man.
Just finding time in the day has been maddening.
I'm still having a busy couple weeks. That combination of kids sports, a lot of work stuff spilling outside of work hours, a lot of kids sports spilling into work hours. So yeah, it's been a good run.
Yeah, it's going nuts. Well, with that, I want to introduce our guest to Christine Miller. She's somebody that I met. Geez, it's got to have been 5 or 6 months ago. I don't even remember exactly how we connected in the first place, but we seem to talk every month now, so it's great. She's the Chief Experience Officer and founder of the Experience Group. And so one of the unique things is she brings this interior design background, going through project management and corporate workplace strategy and change management. And I'm going to let her explain a little bit more about how she does this with her people first philosophy, but it's more than having a great workplace at the office or the welcome kits at home. There's so much more in the experience of what employees go through. So with that, welcome, Christine. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom. It's so nice to be here. Sadly, my name is not Tom, but I feel very welcome anyway.
We're at capacity, so you're good.
It's going to get really weird.
And I like how
we have one.
The screens have us like sandwiching her too, so it's like a full guest experience. She's like right in the middle of this whole thing.
Yeah. Very Brady Bunch of you guys.
It does have a Brady Bunch feel.
Yeah.
Someday when we do multiple guests at one time, maybe we'll have a little bit more of that excitement.
That would be a really fun segment. Yeah. So thank you guys both for having me. It's really, I'm so flattered to be one of your first guests on your podcast. It's been fun to watch you so far. There must be a dog somewhere barking or something. But yes, I'm Christine Miller. I am Chief Experience Officer at the Experience Group, and we focus on engagement and productivity in workplaces. So there's the puppy. Oh, he's so cute. Or she, I don't know. And what that means is really anything and everything that touches an employee's workplace experience while they're within the four walls of their building. So you may hear workplace experience from HR type folks, and those folks are very benefits driven and health packages and compensation and all of those things, which yes, to many people is the experience. My type of experience lies more within the real estate and facility services realm. So anything you're touching, feeling, interacting with during the workday, and that could be conference rooms, restrooms, the janitorial staff and maintenance teams that you're interacting with, your work order systems, your onboarding experience, all of those things sort of fit into workplace experience as I manage it. So
I'm gonna have some big follow-up questions for this, for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's so much like it's left unsaid or taken for granted. I wanna say, just in terms of you hear a lot of conversations, whether it's at conferences or on networking calls, and people saying, "Oh, the experience is so important," but it ends up being bagels once a month, which is nice if you build something around it. But they don't. I know you and I have had some separate conversations, Christine, where it goes way deeper than just what food's on the counter.
yeah, I mean, bagels are a gesture. They're not workplace experience. And it's funny that you say that
I like
example
that.
because I was at a conference in New York City at one of the new high rises. I don't recall the name at this moment, but since I'm going to kind of give some feedback, I probably shouldn't say who they were. But it was all about elevating the workplace experience of the clients of this property manager that run and operated this building. And it was a beautiful event and really nice. And the speakers and the panelists and the food and the vendors, everybody was great. But I went into the restroom and there was no soap in the soap pumps. And I'm like, this is really a minor detail, right? But it's those minor details. It's about getting the basics right so that I don't need to go wash my hands in the utilities closet down the hall or, find some sanitizer. Like, that's just silly to have to worry about when you're just using the restroom and trying to get back to the office. So it's really about making things frictionless and really getting the basics right. Um, is really the very baseline activity that I try and focus on when I work with a client.
Yeah. I know,
You're
Tom,
muted,
you probably
Tom.
run into this too in terms of just that, the what you refer to as the little things, the basics.
Yep.
When I think of it from, we can relate it to kind of business development cycles, the small clients were what made it. Yes, you want the whale, right? But those little things are what make or break your long-term success, your reputation, whether it's in business development or walking into a space, even as simple as walking into a retail restroom. Like, but you
So
see
I,
some of
I
the.
have a restroom office story from like 2 weeks ago.
See where
And
we're
I feel
going
like it like
already?
Let's hear it.
oh no, I feel
Naturally.
like it like
Calm
highlights this
down.
exact talk track. So I was at a HR company, very big HR company, beautiful corporate office in Denver here. I was there for an event and they had these kind of gender neutral bathrooms. And it was pick, use whichever bathroom you'd like. And I'm the last guy. I was like, whoa, cool. First time seeing this whole thing. But the signage for it was really confusing. And it was just how they had the signage. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool thing, the gender neutral bathroom. But I couldn't figure out which one I should go to. It sounded like I could go to both, but I was like, one has to be better than the other if I'm like standing up. But the signage kind of took the entire experience away from me. And like I've
That's
thought
so
about that as
interesting.
much as anything else as my time in that office was like that dang sign, like it made me uncomfortable, like trying to figure out which way to go. And I'm the like least caring about that overall topic, like in a good way. So
Yeah.
I'm not posturing in any way as the bathroom conversation, but that little signage piece affected the entire experience surrounding it.
And it takes something really that was supposed to be so elevated and inclusive and equitable, and it turns it into like well, what just happened? Like it really it kind of spoils the fun out of the whole thing. So signage wayfinding, that's huge. And it's really important to kind of go into your user's experience and kind of look at it with fresh eyes, which is why a consultant is a great person to come out and look at your space for the first
Right.
time because you're truly um, unbiased and you can really say, well, this person was not quite as friendly as you would expect. I mean, this is a very elevated business. It's a law office, it's a doctor's office, whatever, and the receptionist is quite rude to be honest. That is a
Right.
huge thing that should be addressed immediately. And then, you can walk through each experience individually and sort of see what should be addressed first and foremost as far as getting the basics right. Now, handling the employees is a totally separate ballgame, which is also fun to talk about, but I'll wait until we go there.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure.
Yeah, I have similar reflections of the genderless bathrooms, and I too found it very novel. Um, I was in San Francisco where I first experienced that, but it's much like, if you think about it, you go to somebody's house, anybody can use it. Yes, I understand your stand-up reference, which is easier, but but the one in San Francisco, like, it's just basically open stalls. And the weird part, I think, for me was getting back to the bathrooms, was their bathroom stalls only go so high, and then there's open ceiling, and you can hear everything in the bathroom, and it just felt like I'm learning way too much about everybody else in this bathroom, because it's usually one side or the other, and you're like, I didn't need to know that." So,
Well, I mean, that's why I brought it up, right? Like it's like such a simple thing, but also like it's a very sensitive piece and you don't really think about that until you run into it. And then you're like, oh, wow, you got to execute at a really high level on all these, to what Christine was saying. Like, it's not just the thought, but it's the execution. It's that last mile, if you will, of a marathon that really determines whether you cross the finish line or not.
yeah, yeah. Christine, I'm curious. As you talk to your clients and run into the scenarios, is there sort of a most common hurdle that you run into that you're able to solve on the experience side, which sticks out to you? Or is there a general story that jumps out to you like, oh, yeah, convincing folks that this was really an important piece and then they were wowed afterwards?
I would say that conference rooms are buzzing in my head right now. So funny that this podcast is called This Meeting Should Have Been a Podcast because everybody knows that poorly run meetings are a complete waste of people's time. And not only just one person's time, it spans the room, however many, 15 executives in a room, even for 10 minutes doing nothing is an extremely costly 10 minutes for that company. And so the most common overlooked experience is the conference room experience in my
Here, here.
experience. And it's because, you have 30 minutes to get whatever you need to get done. And you come in and hopefully the person prior to you has left the room prior to your meeting starting, but a lot of times in the workspace that they'll linger, or it's the CEO, so you can't knock them out of the room, but it's like, but I have a client on the call, so I don't want to leave them hanging either. It's like, so it's the mad dash for the next available conference room, and you're sweating and you're like, how the heck am I supposed to save face to this client when the CEO just made me look like silly? Okay, so that's one problem, but your meeting gets started off 5 minutes late at that point in time. And then you need time to set up your technology and plug it into the wall or plug it into the monitor or what have you. Maybe your battery's running low and you could really use a plug to power your computer, but oh, your cable's somewhere else. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but you've all been there. We've all been there in a room where you're just like, come on, I just need to be productive and I can't be because maybe the technology is unclear. Maybe it's different than every other room in the building, and it it takes a bit of an education to understand these things. So the place where I have found the most success and impact is revamping the conference room experience. And I did this in a financial institution, global presence, and they have over 5 million square feet and I think over 20,000 employees across the world.
Wow.
And their mission was to create a consistent experience for their employees um, across any building, no matter what country you were in. So my first attempt at impacting experience was at a conference room level, which was let's identify every single room, what is in that room, what is available to us to use. If there's monitors, if there's voice over IP, whatever, I mean, fill in the blank, like anything was on the table. And we essentially made a standard kit of parts that existed in every conference room from that point forward because it was important for people to know that there was always going to be 4 expo markers on the board with a dry erase marker right next to it. Those markers were going to be tested once a week by the people that were canvassing the floor so that you were never scrambling for a white erase marker that was, dried out and, you can't get your point across without stumbling and fumbling and all of those things. So it was a really fun project because we were able to add a little bit of hospitality, mids that were branded with the corporate real estate department's logo and all of those things, power cords that, fit into each person's computer across the site so that, if you're ever in a jam, you have it, places to plug in your phone, that sort of thing. And there was always a phone number to call for the people that were on site and able to help you. So if for some reason all those other things failed, you could still call for support. So I would say, Tom, that the conference room experience is so overlooked and it can be so costly if you don't pay attention to it. And so that's like the lowest hanging fruit, I think, is kind of widespread across a lot of different
You,
industries.
you've unearthed a lot of like bad memories for me just going through that answer. I think it's 100% right. Like my last on-site job, we would have weekly meetings, and we called it the dark room because it was no windows. It was miserable. So then we started wasting a bunch of time. Well, where else can we go as a team? And we're going all over this big building. And then we finally found another spot, and it was sunnier and nicer. But then two people either had to stand or sit in the back. And that was deemed better than the dark room. But if you were the person that was stuck sitting in the back with your laptop on your lap, like it totally stunk. And again, that's another one of those things that just stuck to me. It was like, oh God, I hate meetings at this. And it was hard to stay focused on the meetings too, um,
Yeah.
purely because of the space.
Right. And you're scrambling, and
So
there's always somebody running in last minute.
entirely accurate. So it's like, you have these CEOs who are demanding people come back to the office. This is a mandate. If you're going to continue to get promotions and this, that, and the other thing, you must be on site 2+ days a week. And we're badging you and we're recording all this. And it's like, okay, whoa, that feels really intense, especially for when I come in, I experience all these problems trying to get my job done. So you as in CEOs, really need to pay attention to the experience that your employees are facing because we all know that working from home is really desirable to a lot of people. And if you are constantly fighting that pull of home because home has my technology set up, it's convenient, you know, it's comfortable, I don't need to wear dressy pants and high heels, then like you really
Yep.
need to make it easy and frictionless to come back to the office, which is why I mean workplace experience in my mind is like a no-brainer. It's like you got to treat your employees well, if you want them to do well and do well for your business. So it's like the very basic line of that.
I'm one of those that's willing to always come into the office if there's a benefit to going into the office, whether it's quieter workspaces, better technology, better connectivity with people I need to work with. So even in hybrid environments, I would go in all the time when the value is there. And a lot of the time it was the collaboration, but it was also the thought behind the design of the office that
Yeah.
pulled us out of our cubicles, out of our offices for collaboration. And I think that's what worked for me personally. But I think that connectivity of the humans and the physical space is really important. You don't hear that in our world a lot.
Right.
No, you don't. And I kind of, if you don't mind me interjecting this case study, because I think it's a really good case study that speaks to what you just said, Tom. This was a university foundation, so attached to a large university on the west, not the coast, but like the west side of the country. And um, we did a data analysis on them and their employees, which is usually how I start working with clients, is this data analytics piece. The data understands how you function in your job, how you do your best work, when and what circumstances lead to the most productivity, and so on and so forth. It's really fascinating. And so this particular foundation had raised more money for their foundation than they ever had in the past during COVID. And they were all working from home. They were all making their calls and connecting with people virtually. And the university leadership was like, this is great. Why would we ever change what we're doing? And we were able to look at the data and say, we actually do need to change what we're doing because your people, while performing really well, have a huge desire to learn and grow and connect with their colleagues. And they're
Right.
missing out on learning and development opportunities because they're not collaborating and having candid conversations with the people in different departments or, even across the hall. So when we looked at that data, we looked at their space and we're like, okay, there's 95 people here and they're sitting in 95 cubicles. So why would we have them do very isolating work at work when they want to collaborate, they want to grow, and they can
Right.
do all that at home? So it's like you're spending all this money for real estate that is just so unnecessary because it's not even adding any value or productivity to your employees' day. So the recommendation then became let's build a whole learning center and development um, piece of your building. And really, you could give half the real estate back if you really wanted to. But The point was to create spaces that actually fueled learning and development and fit the needs of the employees.
We've seen in our geographic area organizations shrink the amount of space that they were using, and this is happening more and more so. I don't have stats because I'm not in that space, but I see it, read about it in the paper, and talk to folks. They've even You'll have two organizations that do somewhat similar things, but they'll share some resources in the same building because there's no point in paying all this extra real estate when, you know, Mondays and Tuesdays is when most folks are in, or even some organizations, they have way more people than they can fit in the office. But the amount of times that they're all together, they all need to be together, is few and far between. The one caveat I have there is that when you want to do something of a town hall or some sort of larger activity or discussion point, it's harder. You've got to put a lot more thought into how you're doing that to include everybody in those conversations. But I like those environments where like you said, you're finding reasons for them to interact. I have a friend, Todd, who talks about inviting people back into the workplace. If you're going to do one of those return to office, have some reason for it versus make me do my Zooms in a closet so I can have
Yeah.
silence. Right. I love
Yeah.
the collaboration part. But granted, I'm a chatterbox. I love that those moments of the water cooler talk because it inspired people to learn things from one another, which was just as valuable as sitting there with a textbook per se.
Well, and it goes both
Yeah.
ways to your case study. Had an old friend that worked at EMS software and Accruent, and they had clients where their software would kind of monitor how the spaces were used, how many people were using, like kind of check in and out of desk, which I want to kind of get into that kind of hybrid desk conversation. But they've got a case study where a company had 11 floors of this office building, and after really looking at their space, they were able to get down to like 5 or 6 floors. I don't recall the exact amount. So, I mean, think about the rent in a city in a major high rise, cutting that in half with the floors while still having better spaces, better used spaces, better put together spaces. So you get the people out collaborating, you get better experience for employees, and you're saving some big bucks while pushing a
Huge
productivity
dollars.
in some cases, right? Not across the board, but
Yeah, but the
No,
yeah, it
not
is
idea.
out
across
there.
the board. I mean, I have a similar story in Southern California. We were just talking, I worked out there for 7 years. And I mean, that is arguably the most expensive real estate in the country. And this avionics company had four buildings in Irvine. They were going to lease a fifth. And we, having been embedded into that employee environment, we were actual employees versus external consultants. But we're like, people are on airplanes visiting clients literally 4 to 6 days a week. Why on earth would they have a dedicated desk here? Half the building's empty. The people who are here are working by themselves in these pockets of the building that are uninhabited by anyone else. I mean, let's just consolidate. We were able to save them $2.5 million a year in
Wow.
real estate costs. And the CEO was like loving it. We were able to invest that money into the actual workplace. And now they're operating out of a much smaller real estate footprint and arguably have like eliminated, I would say, at least 50% of the silos that existed because now you have cross collaboration, cross pollination of people, which leads to business continuity. I mean, people are retiring. How are you going to train those people if you never talk to them to take over your jobs when you retire?
Yep.
So it's like this really fascinating thing that I find is kind of all rooted in the use of space and the like making it kind of an interesting and productive place to work.
Yeah, I even like the places where I had one client. We're going back 10 years, but they had redesigned their entire um, I would say individual offices and cubicles to more of an open layout, meaning certain people had offices and it wasn't necessarily the higher ups. It was just based on what
Hmm.
you needed to do independently. And then there's an open desk and you just plugged in from it was kind of a lunch counter sort of thing. You plugged in on one side, plugged in the other. It didn't matter what your title was. If you didn't get there by a certain time, it was sort of first come, first serve. But it forced these interactions with people that normally didn't necessarily run into each other, which I think is extremely valuable. And even with some of the clients that I speak with and help now, the amount or the lack thereof of engaged conversation about, hey, what are you working on? It's just gone.
Yeah.
So
But it's pro and con. Like, I was always in the sales world. I love the open collaboration, but when I was trying to make my sales calls, I had to go to a conference room or a special call room, which wasn't always available. So like there's no perfect one size fits all for any of this. It really comes to like,
Totally.
what's your company? What work are people doing? What departments might be at this particular location? Are people traveling? Like, it takes a lot to like get this right, which is why you exist, or at least why your work exists. You're way bigger than tech
yeah.
than that
Yeah.
piece. I just want to clear that one. Probably was not the best statement, but
So we're talking
No,
that's
about
why what you do is important. How about that?
yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I know we're talking about sort of bringing back this return to office conversation. I know, Tom, you were going to pull up some material on that. Do you want to shed some light on that part? I know you were
Yeah, kind of
cleaning
my
this up for some conversations
yeah
around
my
that.
weekly crazy articles.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I got this one. Company instates return to office policy after 3 years of remote work. Tried to fix morale with a pizza party of 5 pizzas for a team of 25 people. That's
I mean, that's a real story. This is not like a Huffington Post nonsense or something.
no, it's real. There's people on this thing. It's
I
just
mean,
I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I mean, we don't even have to get into the article. Like, this one's more about like, there's the title. You know what the article's about.
that's a culture problem. I mean, that's like, I would argue there's probably no soap in their bathrooms either. It's like,
Before they dive into the boxes, right? Go to the bathroom, then have some pizza.
right.
That's
I
probably
mean,
the strategy.
I don't understand how good employees, want to work in a place like that. And that's the problem. If you guys, not you guys, but if people miss the opportunity to really treat their employees well, you're going to lose all the good ones, the good people, the good employees, the good talent that can easily jump ship and find a better opportunity somewhere else with your competition. So you're going to tell me that you want all of your top earners and top performers to go jump ship and go to your competition because you don't want to invest more in them than 3 pizzas at a back to work event. I mean, that's sad to me. It's really sad.
Well, it's describing to you what things are going to be like now that you're back. I'm
Yeah.
going to
Right.
underfeed you. You're going to be left hungry. Your stomach's going to be rumbling and unhappy because you got the middle piece in the 12 cut and didn't have any crust, and now your fingers are all greasy. Like, I'm giving you visuals and experiences, but like
Great visuals.
right.
Really
It's like
good. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's like middle school pizza from the cafeteria. That's what you feel like.
I
And
mean,
who wants to be there? You're and for me it was I tended to always bring a lunch, but it was nice when there was something else there that was unique and special, and there was you're gonna spend $50 more, like in a 25-person company, right? $2 a person more
I
to
mean, to
have
me,
some
it
extra
doesn't even come
sauce,
down.
right? It's
It's not even a cost thing. You're a box check. The,
mhm.
the management, your leadership, the people that are supposed to be taking care of you, supporting you, giving you purpose for coming back are just going down. I have to do this thing, check. I have to do this thing, check. And I think that's like the core of engagement, right? Like, it's the
Yeah.
intention of engagement. It's
So
the
out of touch.
us to you to me part of the
Tone deaf.
engagement. And it's just, I don't even think it's cheap. I think it's just tone deaf. It's that tiny last 10% last mile we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
All right.
I can hear the conversation going on in that one in my head, but we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
What else you
I
got,
got
Tom?
I got another story. I'll just mention it. I was at a company that was celebrating some like $32 billion new tier revenue. So they had a party for everyone, and the managers went to Costco and were making sandwiches with white bread, mayonnaise, and giant bags of chips from Costco to celebrate a multi-billion-dollar achievement by the company. And I was like, this
Talk
is
about
the
tone deaf.
worst thing on the entire planet I've ever been a part of, ever.
Like, I mean, I love Costco. I'm there often, but
Yeah,
that
who
is not
doesn't love Costco? Yeah.
I
I don't
don't
want
have
my
one.
manager with like plastic bags on his hands, like making me a sandwich. Like, give me a
Yeah, I
pizza
mean,
at least.
and then you have your employees, what they're really thinking is, thanks for spending all this on my hard work while you guys go enjoy your, promotions and raises in your extra homes wherever you are for a $32 billion deal. I'm sure their CEOs are making phenomenal income.
They're buying
And
another car.
really sucks for everybody else who's been the brains and the brawn behind the effort.
You're drawing my eye to your lack of awareness, right?
Right.
Yes,
I wouldn't have connected the
100%.
dots if you didn't make it so easy for me to connect the dots.
Well, it's kind of like the business leader who buys this million or multi-million dollar home and starts bragging it to all the people that are making 40, 50, $70,000 in their office. Like,
Yeah.
what
Mhm.
message are you trying to send here? Like, we're working our butts off trying to do great things for you so you can make these profits. And granted, spend your money how you're going to spend it, but don't rub my nose in it because I
Yeah.
Yeah.
know my part. Again, it's that being clueless and out of touch, and just not even self-aware, which isn't the greatest example to set, especially as you talk about culture and engagement.
Which is why employee engagement is hard. You can do all the things Christine talked about with the boardroom and the setup and having the supplies and having the right office space and doing nice things for folks, but like it does not take a lot to go sideways. And different companies have different changes in different places. So, we got some fireworks.
I
What's
know.
this hard transition? I like
I
it.
I hit a button.
Oh
To be
no.
fair,
I
I
thought I was going through like a time warp tunnel or something.
I switched screen and I have one of those touchpad mouses on my laptop, and I must have pressed too heavily on something, and so all this digital stuff starts coming through. So
All right. Well, while you fix that, we'll keep a conversation going for our audio listeners. Christine, you mentioned Irvine. I used to work in Irvine. I'm a big OC guy. Whereabouts in Orange County were you, and what part of Irvine?
So I worked right near the Irvine Spectrum, and I lived in Lake Forest. So we were
Mm-hmm.
just, what is it? West, no, sorry, I'm on the East Coast now. Just east
Mm-hmm.
of Laguna Beach.
Yep.
oh,
Yeah,
nice.
beautiful area. I lived
It's
Newport Beach,
amazing.
Balboa Island, Huntington Beach, Ralph Avocado, and Corona Del Mar. So, and I managed the Sports Club LA, the Big Giant Pink Athletic Club, kind of across from where it sounds like your offices are. So I know right where you guys, right
Yes,
where you
yeah.
were.
I want to keep it anonymous, but I'm happy to tell you offline where I worked, and maybe we
Yes.
were like neighbors or something.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. I always like anytime I connect back to California. I'm in Denver now. I always love that.
It's such a wonderful place to live and work, and I always say that if my parents didn't live on the East Coast and I didn't have three young kids, I would have stayed out there forever.
Are you from the East Coast?
I am, yeah, outside of Philadelphia. And that's where I am now. So took a little break to go to California, came back and landed in the suburbs of Philadelphia, about 35 minutes outside the city.
Nice. I'm from New York and a big New York Giants fan, and we will not talk about any sports from
No,
here
no,
on
no, no,
out.
we will not.
It's tough. It's tough to talk about sports, especially when you're talking about world champion cities like Los Angeles. You know, we're doing fantastic things out there, and tongue in cheek.
Yeah, you beat the Yankees last year. I know, Tom. And I'm rooting for the Blue Jays because of Don Mattingly, who was a childhood Yankee hero of mine, who's managing over there. So down with the Dodgers. Take that.
He was a manager in LA for a little bit. He didn't do much, but I liked him.
He's a nice guy.
Well,
Yeah.
the Phillies and the Eagles have represented quite a few large scale sporting events in the last couple of years. So I'm not gonna brag, but you know.
Yeah, I flew or I drove to Philly and cheered them imploding the vet at 6 a.m. That's one of my favorite stories. Uh,
You cheered
in my,
them where?
the Veterans Memorial Stadium, the vet.
Yeah.
I was in my Giants gear cheering as they imploded it at 6 a.m. It was,
Oh my
and I made it
God.
out alive. It was one of my favorite stories from,
Yeah, that's a
I think,
war story. I
22
am,
years old.
of course, you were 22. I mean,
Yeah,
your
naturally.
frontal cortex wasn't developed fully
Right.
yet.
Couldn't drive
Go
yet.
into
Yeah.
Philadelphia Sports Stadium in New York gear, that takes a lot of chutzpah, you know?
Yeah, I think people were like genuinely just shocked. And my buddies had Redskins gear on because we were coming out of DC at the time. And I think people were just generally shocked that we were there and just like, ah, good for you guys. Like, because we were being nice to everybody, but it was definitely
Totally. Wow, that's a
dangerous.
good story.
That's going. I remember going to the vet. Of course, I'm older than both of you. Probably add both. No, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, I used to go to Army Navy games there. Plenty of good memories in the vet. And I was never hit by concrete falling or any of that stuff. So,
And
yeah,
Santa
good
didn't throw
memories.
snowballs at you, or you didn't throw snowballs at Santa, or none
The
of that.
Giants have an ice ball catastrophe too, so I can't
Yeah.
really point fingers.
Well, with that, why don't we take a short break here, and we're going to pop back here in just a moment with another segment from, you saw this last episode where we brought in our tool from SpeakPipe. So we take some ideas and conversation starters from some guests.
Yeah.
All right.
Love
Well,
that song.
geez, yeah, we have some fun there with in between things. So we have this SpeakPipe caller, and those of you that want to chime in the future with your own stories, please do. We'll put the link in the show notes. But this week's call was really interesting. I got a kick out of it. Um, Christine, you'll appreciate this too, because I know you and I've had some conversations around some of these. But I'm going to hit play here so we can listen to this and we'll chime in with your take on what that experience might feel like, or if it elicits a response from you that's just sort of cringy sort of thing.
So this particular meeting took place several years ago. It was pre-pandemic. Everybody was in the office, and that meant cramming everybody into a conference room for this weekly call or discussion about aligning communications with the rhythm of the business, something like that. Yes, every bit as exciting as it sounded. And a lot of different stakeholders at these meetings. I mean, there were HR teams, internal communications, the finance folks, operations, you name it, right? Half the time you didn't actually know who you were sitting across the table from. People would either introduce themselves or not and just went around the table with whatever their updates were. I remember one time a couple people slipped in late. Not a big deal, no introductions, just open their laptops, business as usual. But about 15 minutes in, one of them raised their hand and asked a question that was very specifically related to supply chain, purchasing, operations kind of things, and it just had no business in this meeting, right? The room went quiet, and someone finally whispered, this is about HR programs and communications. And that's kind of when everybody realized they were simply in the wrong meeting. They grabbed their stuff, they bolted just like they, I don't know, had showed up for the wrong wedding. And the best part is nobody even blinked. We went right back to these very exciting updates. And yes, this meeting absolutely could have been an email.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
No, like so many levels of that are insane to me.
To not even realize who in your company should be in a meeting or shouldn't be a meeting, because HR people generally know who each other are, right? And two or three strangers walk in, nobody bats an eyelash.
No.
I mean, I've walked into wrong meetings, buildings, rooms, you name it. I've walked into the wrong place. It's never taken me 15 minutes to figure out I was in the wrong place.
No way. Not even close to that. I mean, that's astounding. Which part of that do you want me to comment on, guys?
Yeah, take your pick.
Well, I think, like there's no introduction. Nobody's gonna say, hey, just in case I see two strangers in the room, I want to introduce myself. What is your purpose here? I don't want to waste your time. I think that's totally acceptable to kind of align everyone in the room and say, if you were invited by someone, I'd love to know who so that I can make sure the proper context is delivered to you properly during the next 30 minutes or whatever.
But even the
I think
person running the meeting, there's got to be somebody who's organized it or generally runs point, has to recognize that we'll call them misfits,
Yep.
not to be impolite, but just they don't belong there.
Right.
What are you guys doing here?
And it's like HR stuff. I mean, that's really sensitive stuff that you could be talking
Yeah,
about.
that's where I was gonna go next. Is like you gotta like have some checks and balances who's hearing what you're talking about in a meeting. Because if there's not something important being talked about that should only be for the people in the meeting, like I don't care if it's HR or not, but especially with HR,
Especially with HR. Totally.
Yeah.
control your communication, control your data.
And HR is the one running that show. I mean, that's a scary thought also.
A little bit. I liken
the
it
good
like we all have our devices, right? And so you'd think people are texting, "Hey, Jim, where are you? We're in the meeting." And not even having that while they're sitting there not understanding what anybody's talking about. Just, yeah.
And the subject of the meeting was communication. Is that right?
Something like that. Ironic.
That's the funny part.
Ironic.
But I like that this tied in a lot of what we talked about, because before I thought we were going to have to title this the bathroom episode. But now we can really talk about, awareness being a huge piece of engagement, just awareness, whether awareness of the physical environment, awareness of the amenities you're providing your team, awareness of how good intentions may or may not land, awareness of what
Yeah.
freaking meeting you're in. So I think we got a new title, or at least working topic for this episode. We can put a bow on it.
I would not want to be contributing to the bathroom episode. So I'm really glad to hear that it's no longer the bathroom episode.
Speaking of bathroom episode, I couldn't have planned that better.
Yeah. So last but not least, we're trying a couple of other pieces here. And one of the things that in our brainstorming sessions, Tom and I have been talking about this podcast for a long time. And there's a whole list of things that we came up with. But one of them was sort of the spy versus spy thing. So those of you that read the Mad magazine, either the books, there was a spy versus spy book. There was the Mad magazine itself with Alfred E. Newman. There was even a Mad board game that was sort of Monopoly-esque. I had that growing up. I'm dating myself because now you can Google that and realize when was it new, and it was probably like 1984. But one of the things I wanted to put out there, and we talk about corporate jargon quite a bit. The newest thing that I'm starting to see over and over, and I want to get your take on this, Tom, for it, against it, blow your mind sort of thing. Have you heard the phrase job hugging?
No. No. And if I did, I bounced right off, because that's exactly the kind of crap I ignore. What is now named? I'm sure it's something I know, but it's now got a cute new name. What does this mean?
Christina, have you heard it?
No, I'm Googling it right now.
All right. So
75% of workers staying put through 2027, study shows.
Right.
I guess I have a pretty good idea of what it is now. Go ahead.
Yeah. The notion of job hugging, somebody, I don't know who coined it. I found it in some UK-based article, but now I'm starting to see it in other HR periodicals pop up here and there. But they're saying that people are afraid to leave, so they're holding on to their jobs, hugging their jobs, in spite of how much distaste they have for it or the interest of looking at things, because they're not sure what the economy is going to hold and what the market's going to hold, that they're going to be safe in the new job. So the rationale is, instead of being patient and choosing the right job for you, now we have to call it something cute.
This is where I want to jump through my microphone. It's called being an employee in 75%. Gallup probably has it at 63%. Like, it's called having a job for most people. Like, it's called keeping your job. Like, I love my job, but like, there's been a couple of days this week I've wanted to jump out my first floor window, and I still love my job. Like, it's just called work. Work is called work because it's hard, because it's work. You get paid for it because you're doing things. And you try to stay there as long as you want to or can. That's what job hugging is, in my opinion. This is nonsense. Strong take, Tom.
I saw it. I'm like, oh, this is the perfect thing to bring into the show. What do you
totally
think?
Set me off.
Yeah, I was recently talking to somebody, and they were saying that they have been kind of being courted by this company that he's really wanted to work for like months. And they finally just like dissolved the role that he was talking to them about. And he said, I feel like I said so much and I shared so much information about what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. And they just like beat a dead horse with this whole interview process, getting so much information out of me that they probably just vaporized the job. And because I gave them all this information, just decided to go do it themselves, which really prompted me to kind of think about this concept a little bit, not even knowing what job hugging was. And I think companies are really looking for, instead of their MVP as we know it, like their most valuable player, they're looking for the minimum viable product that they can find. And it's like it's the same culture problem that is impacting how 67% or whatever you said, Tom, of people are dissatisfied with their jobs, but they're staying there because they need job security, they need a paycheck. It's like if we just fix the culture of these companies and really became mission forward um, organizations, you would be able to engage your people. They wouldn't hate life so much, and they wouldn't be being devalued out there in the job market because we just do things a better way. And it's just like I think our world is so saturated with all these crappy stories because cheaper, faster, whatever is such a crappy culture to be bred in. And that is kind of like the root of all of these problems here that we're talking, the job hugging, the disengagement, the MVP actually being the worst
It's the
I,
least
of it
I, I
all.
common
have
And
a
denominator.
visceral reaction to MVP. I'd never used that before. I now have a big hatred for minimum viable product in my current life. So yeah,
It's the
you're
five
triggering
pieces.
me on an already triggering article.
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
five
I
pieces of that.
mean, it just feels so common. I can't tell you, I interviewed for a good amount of time for this VP of corporate hospitality job, and everyone in the room in my panel interview was like, this was amazing. Like, you're a great fit. We can't wait to work with you. And then the next day, they wanted to give me a personality assessment to like validate, okay,
Are you
fine.
really, really you?
Right. And then all of a sudden, the job vaporized into thin air. And I'm like, this just feels so like mean to do to someone. But it happens all the time. That is one story. Like 10 other people I've talked to had the same thing happen to them. It's really just a cruel, cruel environment out there. It's not fun.
Yeah. So it's a
So
mission.
hug
It's
your
a mission.
jobs, people.
Yeah. Find the right place that you belong, right? And
Yep.
Yeah.
treat people nice.
Yeah, I'm not saying settle, but
No. But do your diligence, right?
do your
And
diligence.
not just Glassdoor reviews, but talk to real people. And if it feels funny, it probably is funny. Keep looking.
Yep.
So, well, with that, Christine, I really want to thank you for joining Tom and I. It's been
Yeah, it was great.
fantastic hearing some of your stories, and you two have some Laguna Hills kind of catch up at some point to get scheduled. But
We do.
yeah, I'm
Thank
I'd
you
love me
guys
some
so much
Laguna
for
Beach.
having me. This is fun.
I'm feeling left out, but
That's all
Well,
right.
you're a
You
Dodgers
are.
fan, so like you're kind of close
Yeah,
to us
exactly.
up in LA.
I'm pseudo Southern California. But thanks everyone for listening
Yeah, this
in
is fun.
to This Meeting Should Have Been a Podcast. Any closing thoughts, Tom?
Absolutely not. I hope to God we run out of corporate jargon to talk about. I just like I want it to go away.
I'm going to do my best to find another one for next time.
I know you are.
All right. Thanks, everyone.